So welcome to Ask a Pro, where I sit down with a local business professional and have a conversation and ask some questions that we hope is important to you. And today I'm happy to be joined by Scott Buckley, financial planner with Sunlife. So we're going to be talking money today. Scott's favorite topic.
It's one of my favorite topics. Thanks, Mark. It's good to be here.
Pleasure to have you at the EXP office.
Yeah,
So, Scott, just tell us about yourself. How did you get into financial planning? One of the things I like through communicating with you over the years is sort of your organic approach to getting to know people, understanding their needs, and just your sales models kind of lines up well with us in that we're not pushy. We like to get to know people and understand their needs as you go through the process. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, great. Thanks, Mark. I mean, I was born and raised in this area and, went to school formally to be a high school science teacher. So that went well and had a few second thoughts about that arrangement. So anyway, I took a left turn to make a long story short and got into this career 30 years ago this year. So it's been an amazing, almost 3 decades. I started when I was 16, in case anybody's doing the math. And all kidding, it's been a great time. You're absolutely right. I think really the only way to be successful in any profession is to really be genuine. Mm-hmm. Have deep, meaningful conversations, and really, I'm a problem solver. I like to fix problems. I like to help people. I don't know how to help you if I don't know you. So first steps of all that is getting to know somebody, what it is that they're looking for, and how you can help them.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, Scott. So obviously we're going to put a little bit of a real estate flair on today's conversation, and you can also take it wherever you want as well. But we'll start off with some real estate questions as they relate to real estate.
Absolutely.
And with rising prices over the last several years, new buyers getting in the market, probably the biggest struggle that they have is coming up with a down payment. I'm going to just throw it over to you, kind of an open-ended question. How best can people save for a down payment? What can you lead them through the process to help them get that down payment to buy that first property?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't really focus on the investment side if you don't talk a little bit about your first-time home buyers. Many of them are going to be younger. So it's very important to try to come into your adult years and manage your credit. Don't go deep into debt, buy a bunch of new vehicles, and then say, oh, geez, we probably should buy a house. Because if you don't know how mortgage financing works, you're going to get a good lesson when you go talk to somebody about it. So you have to have good credit, you have to save some money, and you have to not have big monthly obligations in terms of debt repayments. So if you want the nice new shiny truck, I would suggest maybe you wait till after you get into your house and have your down payment already secured there. So, yeah.
So beyond that debt service ratio that you're talking about, what sort of products might you offer that would really help elevate that process for people?
Yeah, no, I think products as well as just strategies. So okay. we would work with our younger clients and talk about them. Obviously, their situations are fairly simple. You need to have a strategy where you save some of your paycheck for yourself. And there's up to this year there was 2 great programs to help people save for their first down payment. Everybody's probably heard of a tax-free savings account at this point. They've been around since about 2008, 2009. Somebody who's been 18 since that whole period could actually put $88,000 into one, which is a nice amount of money. But more related to home purchases, there's been for a number of years now the Home Buyers Program, where you can actually take money from an RRSP that you've saved over the years without a tax penalty and use it for a down payment. And then new this year, the first-time homeowner savings program is about to launch, I believe, in April or so, and that's another unique way for you to save without tax, and even with a tax deduction similar to the RRSP program, but with different rules on not having to repay it like the RRSP program. So that's going to get a lot of attention, I think. So I think it's great if people are into wanting to get out of the apartment or maybe get out of mom and dad's basement even and buy a house or a first house, to talk to somebody who's a qualified financial planner make a plan and just start saving, and you'll be surprised how quickly it can add up, even in difficult markets. Right?
Yeah, that's awesome, Scott. And you kind of went there, kind of leading into my next question. obviously personal situations are all unique, but kind of another open-ended question for you. Renting versus buying, in your line of work, what do you see as being smart decisions for people? And every situation's unique, and that personal situation obviously comes first, but just kind of lead us through renting and buying.
Well, I think, there's no arguing with the data that supports that owning a home long-term is a solid asset wealth building strategy. It's, in Canada, everyone knows about taxes. We have pretty high sales taxes. We have pretty high income taxes, but we do have some things that are completely tax-free. Talked about one already, which was a tax-free savings account. Your primary residence is also completely tax-free still, and probably will be, hopefully, forever. And then you also, lottery wins. If you get lucky, you can win the lottery. Life insurance is one of the other things that's completely tax-free as well. And if you're going to get a mortgage, you'll probably want to talk to somebody who does life insurance as well. But when you get back to comparing, renting versus owning, I think as soon as you're going to be in an area for a reasonably durable length of time, sometimes renting short term if you're not sure where you're being going, right? Like if you're just coming out of school, you're getting your first job, you're not sure if this is the right area to settle down in, maybe renting makes sense. But when you start looking at the high rent costs as compared to mortgage costs, really sometimes it can be cheaper to get out of the rental and get into a mortgage, but you need that down payment and solid credit, right? So I think no doubt over time, I think there's a lot of data. I pulled some earlier, you probably have some, but I mean close to 8 to 10% average compounded returns on a real estate investment, and that's after tax because there's no tax on it as long as it's your primary residence.
Right. Yeah. We're kind of going through a natural flow here. So how does home ownership fit into someone's overall portfolio and all their financial health? Obviously, you offer some other services and products within your scope that kind of, how does that all blend into someone's overall financial health and wealth?
Well, it's a great question because, again, wealth strategies and building your wealth over time, not all of your eggs in one basket, which is a saying, goes back lots older than you and I, for sure. And real estate is a different asset class than, mutual funds. And then within mutual funds, you've got different asset classes there. They all move in different directions at similar times and at different times, but real estate can show over time that it has been consistent in most cities, barring a few exceptions. In the Kingston area here, it's a wonderful place, kind of in between Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto. But when you look at as part of your overall strategy, it's always going to be important to have cash savings, emergency funds, TFSA funds. You're going to want retirement savings because you don't really want to have to sell your house when you retire so you can afford to retire. You want to keep your house. And that's the other thing too, as we all know in Canada, that house and home ownership leads to open a bunch of other doors. Because as soon as you build equity in your home, banks become more of your friend than the person standing between you and the mortgage, right? So now you're able to borrow more money, maybe buy a cottage or vacation property. Right. So it's really, really important, I think, that if you look at the long term and you know where you're going to be, and the only reason I say that is you just probably don't want to be buying and selling houses every year and paying all the associated fees and stuff, right? That's going to get expensive. So I mean, if you did want to do that, I'd be happy to take you on as a client. Exactly.
But yes, that's sound advice. Make smart decisions. And it's said that the average person actually buys and sells a home once every 7 years.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
And there may be good reasons to do that, especially for handy homeowners. I count myself in that category, and if you're reasonably good with some minor renovations and obviously painting and so on and so forth, you can really improve the value of your home with some simple projects.
Definitely. And the other reason I could think where you'd be buying and selling within a shorter period of time might be as you're that first-time home buyer, building that equity in the market, and then going looking for that home that you actually want. So you may have to sacrifice some things as a first-time home buyer to get into that market, but realize when you step outside of paying rent and paying your mortgage, you're actually putting equity into your own pocket. Whereas when you're renting, you're paying someone else's mortgage. So Just my thoughts there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we've got clients on both sides of that equation. Obviously, we've got people who own commercial properties and rental properties, and you are saving money every month and building that equity. Even if house price changes are relatively flat, you're still paying down some debt. And when you talked about moving homes, your life changes. You could get away with a smaller home to start with when it's just you and your partner.
Right.
Well, if the family expands, maybe we need to look at a bigger place. But I think it's so important that people don't hold out for their dream home. Get in any home that meets your needs. I think as soon as you can would be a great start. And Mark, I mean, with what's gone on in the last couple of years here, I don't know. We talk about it in investments. When the markets go through a difficult period, you always want to buy low and sell high.
Right.
And I think with some of the corrections in real estate prices possibly of the last little while, it's maybe not a bad time to think about getting ready for this buying opportunity and getting into your home soon. Yeah.
So do you have any further thoughts on real estate as an investment, Scott?
I do. I think that, as we talked about before, get into your home, make sure that the home is one that you can afford. Sometimes the bank will say, well, you can buy this big of a house. Right. But that's great if you don't want to ever go out for movies or dinners out, right? So get into a home that meets your needs, and work with a professional, I would never try to buy a house without working with a professional like Mark. Maybe work with a professional like me to help you get the down payment together. That's what I'd say.
That sounds great. So I kind of gravitate back to this in a lot of the questions that I ask, only because it's been so good for my wife Lindsay and I, is income suites within a dwelling and what that opens up to you. I shared some numbers with you earlier today. We've done quite well in the house we're in now just because of that additional suite in the basement. It's almost doubled its rental value over the years since we bought it in 2014, and it's really, really decreased our monthly mortgage payments. So thoughts on first-time home buyers or maybe even not first-time home buyers looking at properties with income suites in them?
Yeah, we've had many clients do this as a way to maybe get into a bigger home more affordably. You can have in-law suites, you can have duplexes as well, where you maybe own and live in the one part, but you own the whole property and there's somebody over there renting. And that extra income is really useful. This area here, rental vacancy rates are pretty small, aren't they? There's not a lot of vacant rental property out there. People are looking, and there's more people coming to Kingston, I think, all the time.
Yeah, the best way I have to explain it is in 2014, we bought our house at a certain value, which was obviously less than what it currently is, and it grew by that amount, the market growth. But the rental income also did. So what we bought in 2014 remained steady. It didn't change. But what did change is what we're now charging for fair market rent.
Oh yeah.
So it's decreased our mortgage payment drastically, and it's been wonderful. So anyone who's thinking of doing that, I'm a big fan of it. It's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to be a landlord, but it's been great for us.
Well, it's also another strategy there would be, for people that want to maybe even accelerate their repayment period, and shorten their amortization. Maybe you're comfortable with your existing mortgage payment, and you can take some of that increased rental income and pay down quicker, and up until recently, rates were so low, most people weren't in much of a hurry to pay down their mortgage. It was pretty cheap, right?
Right.
Yeah. A little bit higher now, but I think, it makes sense,
Yeah.
Yep.
So, a question sort of based on my profession as a real estate agent, and probably relevant for all commission sales-based positions. What advice might you have for real estate agents? We collect our payments based on commissions, and sometimes we can see a larger sum of money at once and not know when the next one's coming in.
Right.
For professions that are commission-based like that, what sort of advice might you have for us?
Well, I think as I know you as a person, I think you got into this because you want to help people, and
Correct.
you want to help people find that home that's perfect for them. So I think when people do that, or with me, I just want to help people financially. I think when you focus on what you're trying to do and you help enough people, and you find enough homes for people and help them find their home, the money kind of looks after itself, and you don't really need to be and people, I think, have good instincts. You can kind of tell where someone's motivation comes from. You can tell if they're there to genuinely help you, or whether they're thinking about how might this help me, right? So the reality is, in many industries and businesses, there'd be no other way to really. Can you imagine how clogged the coffee shops would be if realtors were paid a salary just to sit and have coffee or something, right? I mean, you've got to have a component to that, right? Of getting out there and helping people with the deals, and then it's rewarding for the person that is helping a lot of people, right? But a financial planning piece of advice for people in commission sales is. Budget, save, because there's going to be ups and downs and some volatility in your income, and that's just like volatile markets. You've got to be prepared for it.
My personal advice to real estate agents that need that sort of guidance is marry an accountant.
Yeah, you got the books covered at home pretty solid there. Yeah.
I would venture a guess that the last time I did my own tax return probably would have been around 2011.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not a lot of fun, right? You'd probably rather go sit in the dentist chair than have to sit there and fill all that stuff out.
Well, Scott, it's been a pleasure having you here today. Thanks so much for the conversation.
And we're happy to be here to help out. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Again, Scott Buckley, certified financial planner with Sunlife.